Fred Matiangi, a former cabinet secretary and a presidential aspirant, just released a bombshell in a speech which you are about to listen. I'm your host, Anonymous Whistleblower. Consider subscribing if you're new, and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section.
A very simple story. 2 years ago, 3 years now, when we left the government, after the elections of 2022, I took up an assignment with the World Bank here in Washington, D.C. The nature of my assignment was such that I could not be allowed under the terms of service to come to town hall meetings like this. I kept quiet, looked out for some of my friends and my former classmates like Professor Otiso. So when you see him speaking here as a professor, that's how we were taught. That's how smart our class was. If I may brag. Then, slowly we had this conversation about our country and so on and so forth. By last year, 2024, when demonstrations began that you guys saw, and the Gen Zs demonstrating, people asking questions. I mean, quite frankly, I began to get this pressure and questions from people. Why don't you go to public life? Why don't you come back and contribute? It became very serious. Sometimes, because I have gone home every time I had leave, because I didn't have a problem, I did not run away from my country. I never hide, bend or shrug from responsibility. And I'm ready to answer questions anyone may have about my life. So, I met people, and some of them people I take very seriously. Walk up to you sometimes, at social places, restaurants, ordinary people. I had an experience where I went to Westlands one time to have coffee with some friends of mine. I couldn't even actually sit down and have coffee because everybody, the waiters, everybody come there, they ask me, CS, mbona mnatuacha namna hii bwana? Why don't you, tunazama, and so on things. Why are you doing this? Until it now began to look like I am committing a crime if I am not going to participate in what is going on. So when some of the faith-based leaders in our country, some of whom I respect a lot, said, and all of you wonderful people will relate to this, that when people like Pastor Spora here or Imam Sadiq tell you they want to see you, they usually don't see people just like that. They usually are carrying a very heavy message because they are not ordinary people. You know who they speak for sometimes. So then they tell you, oh, let us have a meeting. I met a number of them. They ask me now, CS, you disappointed us in 2022. We thought you were going to be on the ballot. You didn't go. So now, are you guys going to watch like this as the country goes out? So, here is my first answer, Dr. Bogonko, to your questions. I am in this, and I decided, after speaking to a lot of people and listening to some of you and others, that let me go and make my contribution to my country and take my experience and the years of service that I've had, the knowledge I have of government, and put my colleagues together, work together with them to try and fix some of the challenges we have in the country. So, as I stand here tonight, I bring you greetings from my colleagues whom I'm working with, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, who is in Texas right now. Sends his regards to you. The Honorable Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, whom we work. Honorable Mother Karua, who was here a while ago. And my brother, my friend, and my colleague in cabinet, the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa. we've been having conversations among us ourselves and many other people, on so how do we go forward from here and what do we do for our country? And when you ask me, people are saying, who am I? Where did I come from? There are people in this room. I have seen people here since I came to Minnesota. I grew up with, people I went to school with. I grew up in the village, walking to school, 5 kilometers in the morning, 5 kilometers for lunch, 5 kilometers back to school after lunch, and 5 kilometers back home in the evening. So that was like 20 kilometers a day. Because that is true. Prof, if you estimate the distance from my home to Manga Primary School is like 5 kilometers. And then I was there in primary school, we were together. I said last night I'm one of those people who does not need to go to court together in order to prove that I went to school. Because I'm not like some people in Kenya who claim, because when I was Minister for Education, I used to tell people, the easiest way to destroy a country is to begin with this rubbish about people who have got to go to court to look for court orders to prove that they went to school. Because if you went to school, how did you go to a school where you don't have a classmate, you don't have a teacher, you don't, and when you ask me, people are saying, who am I, where did I come from? There are people in this room. I have seen people here since I came to Minnesota. I grew up with, people I went to school with. I grew up in the village, walking to school, 5 kilometers in the morning, 5 kilometers for lunch, 5 kilometers back to school after lunch, and 5 kilometers back home in the evening. So that was like 20 kilometers a day. Because that is true. Prof, if you estimate the distance from my home to Manga Primary School is like 5 kilometers. And then I was there in primary school, we were together. I said last night I'm one of those people who does not need to go to court together in order to prove that I went to school. Because I'm not like some people in Kenya who claim, because when I was Minister for Education, I used to tell people, the easiest way to destroy a country is to begin with this rubbish about people who have got to go to court to look for court orders to prove that they went to school. Because if you went to school, how did you go to a school where you don't have a classmate, you don't have a teacher, you don't, and you are depending on a judge to make a ruling that you actually went to school. You know, my friends, I want to tell you this. There is a way in which we have destroyed our country by this silly behavior, doing things that normal people don't do. Because you see, going to school is a black and white situation. You either went or did not go. Yeah. And I used to tell people, I am not the one who wrote the law. I believe that you can be a good leader even if you actually do not have a degree, but you wrote the law in parliament and said for you to be governor, you actually need a degree. So respect the law. As it were, you wrote the law. Because that dishonesty is a subject I will go to another day, but I can tell you this. We've had people who have actually served as governors in Kenya who did not go to university. They bought papers, they carried papers, they went to court, got some order, bribed some electoral institution, and approved them. I was the Minister for Education when the Commission for University Education one time, a candidate presented a certificate, and please, I'm not, religious leaders who are in the room, I am not looking down upon you. This guy had attended a conference of religious leaders somewhere in South America, and they gave him a certificate of participation in in Spanish or Latin. Then he took it to IBC. Then they cleared him. He said it's a certificate. I did a master's. When later on they found a translator, they said no, it says certificate of participation. This is not a degree. You know, that's why I'm telling you, one candidate for position of governor presented a PhD certificate that she couldn't even defend. When someone asked her, what was your thesis on? She said, what is a thesis? How would you have, I know we are innovators in Kenya, but some innovation is, it's a joke, as it were. So, my brothers and sisters, so Dr. Bogongo, that's the story of my life. Grew up with all these wonderful people you see here, Professor Otiso, going to Manga Primary School. And sometimes I tell media when they challenge me and Gen Zs who are in the room, I didn't drop from Mars or from Jupiter. And I have lived this life. Simple, what you see is what you get, straightforward, raised by parents who are, materially poor but very rich in spirit and love for us and commitment. The other day, I was telling some lawyers here in a room that, and this is the last thing I will say on that particular score, that one day I will tell the whole story in full length in my book when it comes out, that I would never have gone to school or I would never have finished school without my mother. My mother is the most patient person on earth, because interesting. Every day between, I think, standard 1 and standard 3, every single day I went to school, I lost my pencil. I frankly don't know how it got lost, but I lost it. Kefa is here, he can testify to that. I think in climbing trees, eating guavas in Mosoti's compound, and so on, somehow, it was some miserable thing you could not manage properly. It just gets lost. I didn't know what used to happen. And my mother worked hard. I don't know anybody in this world who's more patient. She would go to the market and sell milk, sell her wares. And every Sunday come home, she would go to the market twice a month. Once a fortnight, she would be at the marketplace. Then she buys a set of pencils. Always part for your country, fight for your country. We may have whatever challenges we have at home. We have disagreements sometimes because of politics, but our country is our collective foremost responsibility. Love your country. Don't talk your country down, because we must love our country. We have not come very far away from home to this place to talk our country down. Secondly, I told them the best thing you can do with your life, and I believe it, the best thing you can do with your life is touch someone. Go to your village, wherever you come from, Muranga, Kakamega, wherever it is. If there's an orphaned child there who cannot afford fees, save some of your lunch or whatever in the course of your stay here at the bank where you're earning dollars, and pay fees for someone and affect the life of someone. And they should not be people related to you by blood or whatever. They should be people you know from your village or somewhere there. Contribute to shaping the destiny of another life. That's why God has put us here. So that then, Dr. Bogongo, begins what I see basically as my vision and philosophy. We are here for service. None of us is going to live forever. We will not live eternally. Those days of biblical people like Methuselah and so on living 900 years are not there. We are going to be here for a short time. And while we are here, let us render service and serve fellow men. The greatest opportunity we have is to serve our country and to serve our fellow men. And there's nothing more nobler than to be asked to serve your country. I had the privilege of serving my country in the position of cabinet minister, and every day for the 10 years I served, every single day I thank the Lord for the opportunity he gave me to come into contact with so many Kenyans. And as I told another group last night, every day is a very humbling experience, and every day drives you to an emotional point where you find meaning in human life by touching the life of another person. Whether it is, high school students. I've narrated stories about how I went to schools, and sometimes a student will tear through the security and almost grab me, like an experience that happened one time in a school in Nyanza, and tell me, we are going to be sent home. The administrator said we are waiting for the parents' day. I have fees arrears for the last 1 year. My mother died. My grandmother, who has been supporting me, also died last holiday. And I tell the headmistress, I will pay fees for this kid. Let her stay. I used to tell my cabinet colleagues, if they asked me to assist them together from one place for someone, I told them only one condition, that you pay fees for 2 people in that school. Then I will assist you. It's about service. I believe in service, delivering service to people. And that journey of life that I had in the public service was fulfilling and very exciting. And so, this is why I am having a listening conversation. So I answered your call, and the call of those many people who were asking me, sasa mbona tunazama? One religious leader I respect waited for me at the door of a hut, and every day is excuses upon excuses, In fact, I would be forgiven if I described what we have in our country as government by excuses. It started with no, it is Uhuru and his term. Then no, it's Raila and Azimio and I don't know who. Then now, ni Wakikuyu wanataka kuharibu serikali. As I said the other day, next year is going to be ni Wakizi na Wakamba wanataka kuharibu serikali. So looking for someone to blame for things that we are supposed to be doing. Good people, we have challenges in our country. Some of them are man-made. Let us work on solving them. I am ready to lead the team to fix those challenges. I'm ready. Because it's true. Because this is not geophysics, this is not rocket science. These are straightforward matters where we need honesty and trust to make the decisions. As I move towards the end of my remarks this evening, I told a lot of people, I addressed meetings where people were asking me these questions, and I told them, like I'm going to tell you today, because I have nothing to hide and you are my brothers and sisters. We either, A, stand up, be focused, and deal with the challenges in our country, or we will soon have no country. It's as simple as that. This pretense that we have had over the years, where we are told lies, musunguko wa ujeuli na uongo, and now season 2 of that is about to begin, where people are flying around the country with helicopters every Friday, in the form of empowerment, 9 helicopters this way, 9 helicopters that way, dramatizing things. Then they end up in a village, they give those poor people 64 shillings. That is not even $1. Even if you gave your mother $1, what would she do with it? Let's be serious. I mean, these jokes, our country is better than that. So that is why we are here. And I promise that working together, all of us, we will fix these challenges, bring about integrity to the management of public affairs, and also create trust. Kenyans are looking for a government they can trust. That a government that will tell you something you can take to the bank. Not a government that you are not sure what they tell you is going to work or not. Finally, some of our public servants, and a good number of you have been in the public service before. We have some of the most hardworking public service, very professional, highly competent. I know it. I have worked with the public service before. I've given this example. For the entire time I was in cabinet, I worked with about 13 or so PSS. I mean, top-notch, smart people. Some of them Harvard, were McKinsey consultants and so on. Smart people. They don't need a benevolent guy from heaven, to come and give them lectures every day and dictate them on what they are supposed to be doing. They just need to be respected, be given an opportunity to move forward. And also merit, so that people are promoted because they are qualified to do the job they are doing. not parachuting people left, right, and center because of the ethnic communities they come from. Collecting some political stillborns and assigning them responsibility to boss around public servants. And they spend time insulting public servants every day. We are the consultants, we are the advisors. And we have reinvented the way in which public service is supposed to be run. Yet, actually, public service is what holds our country together, as it were. So, my friends, when you look at the pay slips of the public service because of a taxation and so on, even self-esteem is lost. Morale is gone. How will they deliver? We will fix this and return the morale of the public servants to work. We will respect public service and public servants and listen to them when they advise us on what we need to do. So, lastly, you've heard things can go wrong. I know how it feels when you watch those pictures on TV of thugs walking side by side with uniformed police officers. People shooting at members of parliament in broad daylight, and there's no crime they have committed. They are just going to a church and going to a rally. Can you imagine if the US behaved like that? We probably would not have been sitting here. As soon as the MC started, policemen walk in. They just start chasing us around. And there's nothing we have done. We have just met and danced. And I don't know why anybody should be unhappy about our dance. Now, those are the kind of things that we are dealing with. But do not lose faith. And people constantly dividing us. This is why I have refused personally. And we all reject, and I want to invite you to reject with me, and all of us well-meaning people, the idea of dividing us into tribes, into communities, and so on. We are not a congregation of tribes in Kenya. We are a nation called Kenya. And the challenges we have do not know tribe, they do not know region. People have challenges in Siaya, in Kisumu, in Kericho, and all over the place. So when people are raising these issues, they are not raising them because of their ethnic background. They are raising genuine, serious issues that we need to work on. I promise you that I am ready to make my contribution. I am ready to lead a team that will work on remaking our country and fixing our challenges. And I promise you, I'll keep my word. Hold me to account. Ask questions. And if I am the one who's so blessed and so privileged to cross that bridge and be the one to be in that office, listening to these wonderful young people who spoke here, asking questions about what we are going to do to resolve some of those challenges like mental health. Half of the reasons why we have mental health problems in our country is because of the ecosystem and the environment in which we live. Everywhere where we had challenges like in Kilifi because of teenage pregnancies, I banned disco matanga because that nonsense where people go when someone has died, they go at night to dance. And then they say, oh, we must replace the one who's in the coffin tonight. Silly things like those, which eventually affect our children. And we worked hard through the provincial administration. I remember, for example, George Natembea, the current governor of Trans Nzoia, a good friend of mine. Yes, he of the Tawe movement. Was first the county commissioner in Narok, then later regional commissioner in Rift Valley. We were terrorizing chiefs and assistant chiefs, telling a chief, if there is a girl who's going to be found in your jurisdiction who has not gone to school, you will pay for it. And drove these kids to school. Now, how is it that when we are supposed to be going forward, we want to go backwards? We reduced capitation from 22,000 to about 16 or so. It's not even going to schools. And every day is excuses upon excuses, In fact, I would be forgiven if I described what we have in our country as government by excuses. It started with no, it is Uhuru and his term. Then no, it's Raila and Azimio. and I don't know who. Then now, ni Wakikuyu wanataka kuharibu serikali. As I said the other day, next year is going to be ni Wakizi na Wakamba wanataka kuharibu serikali. So looking for someone to blame for things that we are supposed to be doing.
Thank you for tuning in. I am Anonymous Whistleblower. Please like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Till the next one. Cheers. Stand by in 3, 2, 1, go.